Hello and welcome to the world where learning authentic English is fun and easy. Can you believe it's already time for another grammar video? Are you still following our channel or maybe you haven't subscribed yet? These aren't just any random questions. Did you notice the use of already, still, and yet in those sentences? Well, today's video is all about adverbs of time in English. In this video, we'll dive into some essential adverbs like already, just, still, and yet, which can make your English sound more natural and fluent. These little words help us talk about when something happens, and they're super important for expressing time in English sentences. So, if you're aiming to level up your English, this is the perfect video for you. Let's explore the secrets of these adverbs. Plus, we'll discuss common mistakes that English learners often make. But don't worry, it's totally normal, and we're here to help you avoid them. So, are you ready? Let's get started. But before we start, we kindly ask you to click on the subscribe button so you never miss out on all our free content and our channel can continue growing. Your support means the world to us. Thank you. So, you're probably familiar with adverbs. These are special words that add extra details to verbs. They tell us how someone does something. In fact, we add to the verb. That's why they're called adverbs. Think of them like a sprinkle of extra flavor to your sentences. Some common adverbs are, for example, slowly, quietly, quickly. They paint a clearer picture of the action. For example, I slowly walked through the park. Here, slowly shows how I walked. Or, the little girl sat quietly in her room. Quietly tells us how the little girl sat. So you see how these little words make sentences more interesting? They are super useful in making your English more colorful and descriptive. Now, the 4 adverbs we're going to dive into today are a bit different from what we have just talked about. These are called adverbs of time. What is so special about them? Well, they're going to tell us about when something happens. So they're not describing how an action is done, but rather when it takes place. But there is a little twist. Some of these adverbs can work in ways that might surprise you. So don't worry, we will go through all these exceptions together step by step, and we'll try to make it as clear as possible. Okay, so to help you understand these adverbs, imagine a line that shows the past, the present, which is now, and the future. So already and just are used to talk about actions in the past that are finished. These are actions that have happened and are completely done, like boom, they're over. Okay, yet, on the other hand, is for things that are planned but haven't happened yet. So we're looking forward into the future with this one. Now, still is a bit tricky. It can have different meanings depending on how it's used. Sometimes it talks about actions that are ongoing. Sometimes it emphasizes a delay, but don't worry, we'll look at examples to make this one super clear. Another important thing to remember is that these adverbs of time are often used with the present perfect tense. That's the tense with have plus the past participle, like have done, have eaten, have seen. This tense works well because it connects past actions with the present moment, which is perfect for these adverbs. So remember, when you use these adverbs, you must always have a little voice in the back of your mind that reminds you to use one of the perfect tenses. If you want to refresh on these verbs, on these tenses, please go look up the video on our channel that explains how these tenses work. Okay, having said all this, let's dive in and let's start talking about just. Now, when I say I have just finished my homework, it means I completed my homework only a short moment ago. It's something that happened recently, just right before now. So with just, we're talking about actions that happened very recently, almost immediately before we're discussing them. Let's explore more ways to use just. So we have discussed about recent action. So just is commonly used to describe something that happened a short time ago. For example, I've just finished dinner. Now I'm ready for dessert. So here dinner was completed a few moments ago and it is still very fresh in time. Sometimes it might just refer to an action that didn't happen seconds ago, but still recently enough. For example, William has just come from America. So William could have come back days ago, so not just now, but it is still recent enough, and that's when we use just. We can use just also to express something very specific or exact. For example, that's just what I was thinking. It means that is exactly what was on my mind. Sometimes we use just to show a strong feeling about something. For example, she is just an incredible dancer. Here just is like saying she is simply amazing, adding emphasis to how incredible she is. We often also use just to make a statement sound less forceful or important. For example, I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing. This shows that it's not a big deal, it's just casually checking in. Just can also make requests and sound polite and not demanding. For example, can I just borrow a pen for a minute? This makes the request sound very light and easy. And last use of just is that it can mean simply or only. For example, I'm just a beginner, so I'm still learning. Here it tells us that I'm only a beginner and I'm not an advanced or experienced learner. All right, let's talk about already. So when we use already, we're saying that something has happened before now. It's just like a little signpost that tells us, yes, this is done. But when exactly it happened can vary quite a bit. Here are three main ways to use already. So the first one is in the near past. So it refers to something that happened not too long ago, but it's still done. For example, you don't need to wash the dishes. I've already done it. So this suggests that the action happened recently, maybe a few minutes ago, but it's finished. Other times, already just means sometimes before now, maybe days, maybe weeks, even years ago. The exact timing isn't important. For example, I don't want to go to Italy again. I've already visited Rome. This might mean you visited last month or even 3 years ago. We all know that it's in the past and that you have done it. Finally, we use already to show surprise when something happens faster than we thought it would. For example, the movie just started, but she's already asleep. This tells us that we didn't expect her to fall asleep so quickly. We thought it would take a while, but bam, she's dozing off immediately. A little reminder as well about the use of just. The movie just started, so it is something that happened a short moment ago. So remember, already is a handy little word that can mean recently done, or at least any time before now, or faster than expected. Now you're all set to use already like a pro. So now we've covered already and just, and now we still have yet and still to discuss. So stick around because these last two are just as important. So let's start with yet. We use yet when we're talking about something that is planned or expected to happen, but it hasn't happened so far. Take this example. I haven't been to the supermarket yet. When you say this, it means that going to the supermarket is something that you have planned to do or something that you have intended to do, you're intending to do, but you haven't done it yet. So the action is still pending. Think of yet as the word we use when we are waiting for something to happen or we expect it to happen soon. It's perfect for those situations when you're talking about things you still need to get around to doing. Now, let's move on to still. When we say still, it often carries the feeling that an action should have been completed by now, but for some reason it hasn't. It suggests a bit of delay or procrastination. For example, I still haven't done my laundry. This implies that the laundry has been on your mind for a while, and maybe it's overdue, that you should have already done it, but you haven't. So while yet is about something that hasn't happened but is expected, still is often about something that hasn't happened but should have by now. So still is perfect for those moments when you're a little behind schedule or when you're admitting that you've been putting something off for too long. Still is also often used with continuous grammar. We use it to describe actions that are ongoing and that haven't finished yet. For example, he is still cleaning his room. This means that the cleaning is continuing. It hasn't been completed yet. Sometimes still can suggest that the action is taking longer than expected. Maybe you think, wow, hasn't he finished yet? Now, still can also be used to talk about habits, especially habits that haven't changed, even though maybe they should have. For example, he's 40 and he still plays video games all day. This suggests that playing video games all day is a habit that hasn't changed, and there might be an implication that by now it should have. But hey, we all have hobbies, right? So don't worry, however, still isn't always negative. It can also be neutral or positive. For instance, do you still work for Amazon? This means you're asking if a person's job is at Amazon and it hasn't changed, and it's a habit that has stayed all the same. So here's a quick summary of still. We use it to describe an ongoing action that hasn't finished yet. We use it to talk about habits that haven't changed, often with a hint that they should have. And also we use it in a neutral or positive ways to check if something is still the same as before. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about using already, just, yet, and still. With these tips, you will never make a mistake again, and you're one step closer to mastering English like a pro. Remember, mastering a language is all about practice and perseverance. So keep watching, keep practicing, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how we grow as learners. And remember, as we say in English, practice makes perfect. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.